And we are live. I was going to do the Dorkening promo, but I got distracted. But we are live, and welcome to episode 26 of The Loudest Sports Show, brought to you by the Dorkening Network and sponsored by Deadly Grounds Coffee. I'm your host, Patrick Rahal, but you can call me Patsy the Angry Nerd. And joining me is Slashes the Ice Queen. I almost called you Slashes Von Nightmare again. Nice Mare?
You were doing really well.
Slashes Von Ice Mare. I don't know if that doesn't work as well.
Really well. Good job.
But we are also joined, as you can see if you were watching the video, you are seeing our good buddy from It's Go Time with Jay and James. It's Jay, not James, because we did have James a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and I listened to that episode, and hopefully I could do a better job than he did. No offense, James.
We love friendly competition.
Oh, yeah.
This is the Aaron Naismith show, 26, right? So let's kick this thing off, huh? Oh, is that a sensitive subject over there? Or?
No, not for me. I don't think he's all that good. I mean, maybe he proves us wrong, but we will get into that when we talk about the Celtics. But first off, we have our opening face-off question, and Jay, because you are the guest, you get to go first. Who is a player that you hate/hated playing against your team?
All right. Well, obviously, within the last NFL season, you definitely had, for all you New England Patriots fans, Tom Brady going over to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They didn't play against each other, but it was one of those weird situations where when the Super Bowl was happening, I was like, man, this doesn't seem right. I am not, I'm a fan of this player, but not this team. And I was very much on the bandwagon of Tampa Bay. So it felt very dirty to me. And I think next season they do play each other. So that should be very interesting. So that's definitely one. And it's very bottom of the barrel here. But the one that I think I kind of had not many people would have. I was a huge fan because I grew up in Utah, and I was not a huge Jazz fan, but I was a big Brian Russell fan. At the time when Jordan left to go try to do his baseball thing for 18 months, his sabbatical, so be it. Brian Russell came into my world and became my favorite NBA basketball player. I went to his basketball camp. I was a kid. I just idolized him because he was attainable. He's a guy that was only averaging about 9 points coming off the bench, not a big deal. So I liked him. And then 97, 98 season happened, and I was just like distraught because I'm a huge Bulls fan. So I'm like, oh my gosh, my player's getting roasted by Michael Jordan right now. And I didn't know what to do. So it was one of those weird moments where I'm like, yay, but Bulls won. And I was still super happy about that. But it all happened on when he fell down to the ground. And I was just like, oh man, I can never come back from this again.
He was helped to the ground.
Oh, at the time, I was like, oh, he was pushed, but a hell of a shot, Jordan. So because it was still my team at the time. I just liked Russell as a player. I didn't like the Jazz. So let's be honest. I mean, I liked him as my West Coast team, but as far as teams go, Chicago was my team. But Russell at the time when Jordan left was my favorite player. So during the 95, 96 seasons.
So you hated seeing Jordan play against, or you hated play against Jordan?
No, I hated seeing Russell play against Jordan because I just knew what was going to happen, and he was at the time like really close to my heart, and boy, did that really crush my heart at the time for him. But on the other side of the coin, I was happy for Michael Jordan. I guess it all worked out, but.
Yeah, seeing your favorite team play against like your second favorite team or like your favorite player, like that's tough. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, just how about you?
So I have a couple.
Okay.
And it's not so much I hate these players playing against my team because they're so good. I hate these players. And number one is fucking Sidney Crosby. I hate Sidney Crosby with a fiery passion, and I can't explain why. I don't like his face.
He has a very punchable face.
He has this air of arrogance about him,
and
especially
that stupid little mustache.
In and off the ice. Like, I just hate him so much. I hate how chippy he can get sometimes, and which is kind of hypocritical for me because that chippiness is something that I admire in some other players. So, that's a discussion for another day.
Mm.
But yeah, Sidney Crosby, and I mean, and he is good. He's so good. He's been in the NHL for over
15 years.
decade. Yeah, I would say like 15 years.
I think he's like your age.
I think he's a couple years younger.
So like 33.
Bergeron's my age.
Yeah, he came in at like 18. So 15 years sounds about right.
And he was named captain shortly thereafter, for good reason. He's a fantastic player, and he's going to have a hell of a career. He's had a hell of a career. He's going to continue to have a hell of a career. He's good, but I just hate him so much. And kicking it back a little bit, the Siddeen Twins.
Oh yeah,
Heinrich and Daniel, the Siddeen Twins. I hated them so
and
much.
Alex Burrows, the vegetarian,
right? The 2011 Stanley Cup run when they played the Canucks. I was just
when Burrows bit fucking Bergeron's
the entire
hand.
2011 Canucks roster. Let's just put that on there. I hated that team with a fiery passion, the same passion that I
don't
hate
think
Sidney
anybody's
Crosby.
still on that team. Maybe
No,
Edler?
I don't think so. I don't know.
Oh,
They don't even have the same coach. Oh, who was in net?
Luongo,
Roberto Luongo. Yeah, Mr. Tim Thomas isn't pumping up my tires.
He's not telling me that I'm good.
Because you're not. But anyways, that's the Siddeens were just whiny and decent players. But
I remember Marchand grabbed one of them by the front of the jersey and was just like bopping him in the face like one of those like old bop bags. And instead of like fighting back or pushing him, he looked at the referee like, "Oh, he's hitting me."
Right? Yeah, it's a whole thing. I was
like, seriously?
I do have a shirt that says the Siddeen sisters, 2 girls, no cup.
Yeah, we both have that shirt.
It's just pretty fantastic. And to end my rant, the entire roster of the Montreal Canadiens.
Yes.
This season, because the Bruins aren't playing them, but and it's not so much in recent seasons. They've gone through a coaching change, which is news for today.
And another coaching change.
And they're not quite the same team that they were a couple of years ago. But I'm talking back when like PK Subban was on the Canadiens.
Dale Weiss.
They played a game of hockey that was not.
They'd grab onto your stick and fall down.
Not
and
nice.
Like, he hit me.
It was not a reputable game of hockey that they were playing.
And
it
bugged me
not
because
respectable in really any sense.
They were talented, but they played
that's the thing, and we used to hate PK Subban so much, and he left Montreal. And now we like him.
Oh yeah, I love PK. I'd take him on this team in a heartbeat.
He's currently on the Devils, and he's fun to watch. Like he's such a great player, right? Absolutely. He's philanthropic both on and off the ice, and who knew? Who knew? You didn't know that when he was playing for Montreal, and you wouldn't have because you can't get past this facade of the hockey that they're playing. You don't want to get to know that you don't want to get to know these players because they just weren't playing a great game of hockey.
I will never forget Boston playing in Montreal when Chara absolutely destroyed what's his name, Max Pacioretty, and half of the fans in attendance called the Mounties to come arrest Chara at the game.
Sounds like a Canadian thing to do, right?
It's like, oh, hey, he hit our guy. That ain't right there. Look at him. You almost decaffeinated him. Oh, I got to hit up Timmy Hortons after the game here. For me, it's a couple of guys that I hated seeing my team play. Were you done?
Oh, yeah, I'm done.
Okay. A couple of, like, you looked like you were about to say something. You're like, for the Bruins for a while, I hated seeing them play against the Capitals because they could not beat Braden Holtby. Not that Holtby was like a phenomenal goalie. He was very good. He won a cup. He took them and they beat Vegas a couple of years ago, for Ovechkin's first win in the finals. But they could, for whatever reason, they could not beat Braden Holtby. I also hated watching the Red Sox play against the, back when the 10, 12 years ago when the rivalry was still there. You know, like the 08, the 04 through like 09 seasons, you know, like when A-Rod knocked the ball out.
Slap the ball out.
Yeah, with his giant hamburger helper mitts. Like he looked like he was wearing the hamburger helper guy. But it's like
makes a great meal.
Oh, this guy, I hate him so much, but like he's so good. Like it's gotten to the point where like when we go to games, you remember that? Remember when we used to go to games?
Oh god, that was like 10 years ago.
I would heckle guys. Like we went to a Celtics Rockets game. It was like the two of us, my dad, and both my brothers. We all went, and I was trash talking Harden. I was like, "Hey, Harden, I respect your talent, but today I hope your squadron is unsuccessful in their endeavors."
Wow, that's a long rant.
Well, it's like really.
Did he get all that?
I don't know if he did.
We were way up in the bleachers, so
that's my trash talk. I respect your ability, but hope you don't have a good game.
It sounds like a Family Guy reference right there. How long it went, and maybe only the guy next to you drinking his beer was like, you know, like spit up his beer, like.
Well, like that's just how I trash talk. It's like
very eloquently and.
Yeah, you know, it's like I'm not like, "Hey, Jeter, you suck." Like everybody says that,
but
he doesn't.
He didn't.
It's like.
He's a Hall of Famer.
Like that's one of the things. Like I can't sit there and be like, "Hey, Mariano Rivera, you're a choke artist." No, he's not.
Was Dwight Howard on the team with the Rockets? I went to that game too at the Garden, but it was Harden and Dwight Howard playing.
It might have been. The Celtics were down 11.
This was many years ago, so like obviously with Dwight Howard.
This is 3.
It was 2017. 2017. So it was 4 years ago.
I was probably there.
Yeah, it was the Celtics were down 11 and Harden just stopped playing defense because the Celtics came back and he was just like slowly walking up the court and the Celtics ended up winning.
Oh, they did win. All right. The game that I went to, I don't think they were and they didn't win. And Dwight Howard was a fucking beast in that game. Like,
oh no, that was
I watched. It was during his like prime, and I was watching. Like, how does this guy get stopped? Like, this team is really good, but they weren't. You know, it was just at the time. Celtics, I think, at that point was like 40 and 42. Like they were.
Oh no, they
were not there yet.
This was Isaiah Thomas playing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
so this is the year they went. This is the year before they traded for Kyrie.
Oh, like they had like 55 wins or something. Pretty,
yeah, this was a good team. This was the Eastern Conference Finals team. This was like a few months before Isaiah got hurt.
Got it.
It was back when they had all the shirts outside saying "King in the Fourth." You know, all of those were because he just come alive in the fourth quarter and just dominated.
It was a fun season, man. That was a fun season.
Oh yeah,
for sure. Very surprising.
So that's a guy I you know, like Braden Holtby, like watching him play against the Yankees. I hated that. I hate seeing him play against Kyrie now because like Kyrie for some reason tries when he's playing against the Celtics, even though he didn't do that when he played for them, which is weird.
And he likes to burn sage in the garden.
One time, and he's like, "No, I do this all the time." It's like, "Oh, you do? How come no one's ever seen you do it before or since?" It's like, "No, I do it all the time." It's like, "No, you're a fucking weirdo. I'm glad you're not on my team.
You're from another planet."
Yes. It's like those middle school girls practice witchcraft.
Oh my god, I looked at a Ouija board and like now I'm a witch.
Just like that.
Dead on Kyrie. That was great, Pat. Oh man, you nailed it.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
It's one of the things I do.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are other, like if we thought about it, you know, and it's kind of like what you were saying, like, you know, a guy leaves the team and it's like, you know, I hate watching my team beat that guy because like he was such an integral part of my team for so long. Like, you know, like I hate that, you know, like if the Red Sox were to play the Dodgers again, like I love Mookie. Like we talk about how
that would be such a weird thing. Would you yell at Mookie? I wouldn't. You would?
No, I don't. I wouldn't yell at Mookie. I like Mookie, and like I said, we.
I mean, I would yell Mookie to Mookie. That's your name, Mookie.
Maybe I would say something like, "Hey, Marcus Lynn, I hope you're doing well."
Mookie, you got a nice tan.
Are they treating you well?
Your mustache is a little uneven. See somebody about that.
How's driving in LA? Ha!
I don't know if it's worse than driving in Boston.
Yeah, I guess that. He takes a train, so I don't.
Good luck merging across 8 lanes. But yeah,
Don't take a helicopter. Oh shoot, was that too soon? I'm sorry. Oh yeah, sorry about that. Sorry.
We did have a whole
bad form.
Wait, we well, we did on the anniversary we did a little bit of a Kobe tribute.
No, I'm sorry, that was too early.
No, it's fine. Kobe is one of those guys I hated watching play against the Celtics because it's like, we especially watching him in 08, and it's like, oh God. First of all, like he worked out for the Celtics. Like I was showing her an article a while ago. It's like, yeah, they went with like somebody.
Dude, it was that close back then that he was very close to being on the Celtics team.
They were like, yeah, I don't know if this kid's he's good. I like him. Red likes him, but we're gonna go in a different direction. It's like,
was that Patino? Was that Patino talking?
No, I forget who it was. It wasn't Patino though. It was somebody else. But it was just like, what could have been? Yeah,
no shit.
Ugh. Like when they drafted Chauncey Billups, and then they're like, Patino's like, this guy ain't no good, and shipped him off.
Yeah, that's a tough call. that was a tough one.
That was a
there's many of those.
I remember they had to change a rule because they had they were trying to bring Antoine Walker back to play with Pierce again. That's when they had Gary Payton.
Oh yeah.
So they traded Payton to the Hawks. Payton's like, I'm not reporting to you. I'm not going to play for you. They're like, fine, we'll cut you. And he's like, good. And he just like re-signed with Boston. Like guys would do that shit all the time. And they're like, all right, we have to stop this because it's like, you just traded Gary Payton for Antoine Walker? Like, that's terrible. And Payton's like, yeah, I'm not playing for him. And they're like, well, nothing we can do. And he's like, oh, okay. Good thing I didn't unpack any of my shit. I'm staying in Boston.
I'm still in Boston. I never came to Atlanta.
I never left. I didn't even pack a toothbrush. Like, it's awesome. Like, they used to do that shit all the time, and they had to change the rule because guys would do that. They're like, okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna trade you, right? But like, when
you're not gonna go. But you're not going.
You just say, I don't want to play there, and like, they'll release you, and then you just come right back in. Like, we won't even like clean out your locker. All right, so I think that's a pretty good spot to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will get into the hockey talk and basketball and baseball and football because there is a lot going on, especially the revelation about Russell Wilson today, the new ordinance for the city of Boston.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and so we will be back momentarily after we do our promo and hear a zombie talk about coffee.
Hey, you dorks, this is Gunnar Hansen, Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and you are listening to The Dorkening.
Hi, I'm Brian Johnson, and although you probably accidentally stumbled across it and have no idea why you're watching it, you are in fact watching The Dorkening.
Hello, this is Tom Kenny, voice actor, the voice of the Ice King on Adventure Time.
And SpongeBob SquarePants. Ah, meow. Oh, Gary the Snail, too. Hey, guess what you're filling your eye holes and ear holes with? The Dorkening!
Oh, I love The Dorkening. Very popular in Ooh.
And Bikini Bottom.
Hi, I'm Lou Ferrigno. You're watching The Dorkening. And you know what? You don't like me when I get angry, so don't get me angry. You better keep watching The Dorkening.
Hey guys, this is Felissa Rose, and you're watching The Dorkening. Hey guys, it's Courtney Palm. We're shooting Death House, and you're watching The Dorkening.
This is Anthony Michael Hall, and you're watching The Dorkening. Stay tuned. My friend's going to show you what entertainment's all about, baby.
The Dorkening.
Rise and shine, my sinners. When Father Evil starts his day, he gets a little deadly. Deadly Grounds coffee has the richest, smoothest flavor you'll find anywhere. It's sinfully delicious. Once you go deadly, you never go back. Order yours at getdeadly.com. Coffee's so good, it's scary.
All right, I was able to get the promo in there after all, even though I messed it up the first time. But that's okay because we got it in there. So, Jay, I know you're not a big hockey guy, but we're gonna take care of the hockey stuff real quick. Although there are a couple of things I think you could weigh in on, even though you're not, hockey's not really your thing. But I think there's a couple of things you can weigh on. Starting with what we teased right before the break. The Bruins are going to have an 8-game homestand with fans.
Mm-hmm.
New order allows for 12% capacity for sports, so about 2,000 people at the Garden, and that would leave about 4,000-ish. I think it's like 32,000, maybe 38,000. So 4,000 to 6,000 at or 4,000 or 5,000 at Fenway. So that's interesting. I'm not sure how that's going to work. I haven't seen all the details for it. It doesn't roll out for a little bit.
Yeah,
22nd
March
of March.
22nd, correct. So I'm sure they're going to have protocols in place and stuff. If you feel that you need to go and see a live event.
I mean, they'll definitely be able to distance everyone. I don't know how that's going to work when it comes to concessions. Or bathroom lines, or
I don't know if they're going to scan you when you come in to make sure that you don't have a fever.
Baseball said
no.
Baseball said that they will not. That's not just the Red Sox, but Major League Baseball. We talked about this a few weeks ago. They said no. There will be a mask mandate, but I don't know how you're going to enforce a mask mandate and sell concessions at the same time. It's like, well, I'm just going to take it off for a minute to eat my hot dog, and I'm going to take it off again to drink my beer, and I'm just going to leave it off while I walk around and go to the bathroom.
12% capacity. Does that include the players and the workers and everything
12%
else?
capacity of seats.
Okay.
So if you have, like at at the Garden, places where they play basketball or hockey, you're usually around 14 to 17,000, depending on how tightly packed you are, how big the stadium is. But it's around 14 to 17. So you're looking 2,000 to 3,000, fans. That's what they do. In Texas, I think it's 25 or 50%. So this isn't bad. Baseball stadiums are bigger. But even Fenway is the smallest stadium. It's like really the only one that hasn't been updated in the last.
Yeah. Well, they're also outdoors.
100. Yeah, but even other stadiums that are outdoors, you're still packed in. And we've been to Fenway. Jay, I assume you've been to Fenway before.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Have you been in the last few years?
Yeah, I would say 3 or 4. Yeah, within the last 3 or 4 years. Yeah.
So you know how tight it is in there. It's worse at the Garden.
Yeah, incredibly. Yep.
We went for your birthday in 19, and
they had just renovated the Garden at that time, and oh my goodness, like they put so many seats, and the way that you feel like you're just gonna
you
fall
feel like
over.
You're leaning forward. You're like.
Like I felt like I needed a seatbelt or something to strap me in, so I wasn't going to fall over onto the people in front of me.
Yeah, it was.
Overall, this is a great thing. I just won't be the one attending. So for the sanctity of sports and people and America getting back to things, I'm all for that. But hopefully everyone's safe. I probably won't be there, but I think it's a good step. That's about it, right? As long as everyone's safe. Good step.
Especially with, you hear about the vaccine rollout, and it's like, oh, it'll be April, it'll be fall, it'll be Christmas. we're going to be wearing masks through 2022. Like, we can't get any consistency because we're not sure what is going to happen. We don't know about, different strains. Ooh, pardon me. Different strains, stuff like that. So we don't know what's going to happen. I mean, again, I'm with you, and I know you are as well. It's great that fans are going to be there.
I mean, if you feel that you need to go to a sporting event right now, then that's your prerogative. That's not mine.
Yeah, 100%.
So, I will continue to watch from the comfort of my house where the alcohol is cheaper and the food is better.
Yeah, I mean,
and then that's it.
I mean,
that's
there's
all
nothing like watching a game at Fenway.
I mean, like it's as much as I miss, seeing live stuff, going to things, participating in life. I'm not in a rush to get out there before the masses are ready. Let's just put it that. I'll just leave it at that. Like I'm
same.
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
So next up on the list. Bruins continue their winning ways. Dominated
they
Philadelphia at
the
Lake Tahoe.
Flyers at Tahoe. Okay, can we just talk about those outdoor
I was going to
games?
say it's a good thing that they won. I thought you were going to talk about their outfits that they're currently showing on TV.
I need to have conversations about everything that took place last weekend because it was a lot of fun. And there was some talk about, does it have the same effect without the fans there? I think they did a really good job with coverage, and especially with the Bruins. I mean, they did this whole early 90s throwback, with their ensembles heading off to the ice because obviously teams were in their retro jerseys last weekend, and the Bruins retro jerseys have an 80s and early 90s feel to it. So it was Bergeron's idea.
Yes.
It was Bergeron's idea because a couple of years ago when they played at Notre Dame for the Winter Classic, they did a whole Peaky Blinders theme, and they were all dressed really dapperly and very chic. So Bergeron decided that it would be a good idea if they did something like that again, and in honor of the jerseys they were wearing, he thought it would be fun to do this 90s throwback. So they all showed up in these multicolored neon windbreakers and
fanny packs.
Bergeron was serving 90s dad fanny pack realness, and I was here for it.
He had a Walkman. Two guys were wearing Mighty Ducks jerseys.
The shirt
I saw that, yeah.
The Cam Neely 1990 playoffs.
Yes. So he was looking for a shirt and trying to find. He wanted either a Neely or a Bork vintage shirt, and he was looking online, and he had found a couple, but they weren't going to arrive in time. One of the employees said, "Hey, let me check my closet," and showed up with just a bunch of vintage shirts.
That's amazing.
From his own closet, and said, "Take your pick." And he chose that Neely.
I would have insisted that he sign it when he gave it back. Don't wash it, just sign it.
Pretty cool. But yeah, and
it
poor
smells like Bergie.
Poor not being able to listen to Barbie Girl because of the media just insisting that he come out.
Did you happen to see any of that, Jay?
I heard about it in Pasta. That guy fucks, huh? Man, that guy was all about it. I love the youth, because what I saw, it's funny that Bergeron did it. He's a little bit older, I would imagine, right?
He's 35.
How old?
35.
Okay, but it's what was taking place really seemed like the 20-year-olds on the team decided to do this, and the rest of the team followed. So it's funny to see the flip. But I don't know. I just felt with the Aqua Girl or Barbie Girl by Aqua and Pasta just loving it. And I'm just like, that guy fucks. Like, that guy's the man. At what is he, 20?
I was listening to the Barbie Girl song.
And that's I don't know what song they're going to be listening to. There's rumor that he and Marchand are in competition to see who control the media the best.
Oh, I thought you were going to say in competition to see, who gets the most numbers or stuff when they go on the road, because I don't know either one of them.
Well, I mean, Marchand is married.
Oh, that I didn't know.
With a bebe.
I knew Bergie was. I didn't know Marsh was. No, Pasta. No, that's why he showed up 20 pounds overweight after the break last year because he had just been partying his nuts off, like because he's 22 and he's a millionaire. Like,
I mean, you know what? Good on him. But yeah, I thought it was a really good time. You had the mascots out there. You had Blades skiing. You had Gritty snowboarding. You know, they did a lot of this behind the scenes stuff to kind of, you know, keep fans in the loop. And, you know, I thought they did a really good job and it was a really fun time. But that game, the Bruins Flyers game, oh my God. I would rewatch that game. And it's the highest rated NBC game.
Well, that I'm not surprised because
it broke records.
The Vegas Colorado game was kind of like an experiment, and that one didn't quite work out the way they thought it was. Now, to finish talking about the Bruins one,
it was fantastic watching outdoor hockey at midnight on our time. That was a lot of fun.
To finish the thoughts on the Bruins and kind of tie it back to what you said, Jay, talking about Pastrnak fucks. He fucks Carter Hart pretty hard because he hat tricks in 2 games against Philadelphia. So, you know, I mean, 34 seconds into the first, 46 seconds into the second period, and then he scored late in the. Oh, he didn't do it against Hart. He did it against Brian Elliott. But still, I was like, man, they should just put Gritty in goal. But the whole thing with the Sun kind of creating unsafe conditions on the ice after the first period in the Colorado game, one of the things that was going on at the same time was a wedding. There was a wedding going on that obviously had been planned, you know, far in advance. And they're like, oh, we're going to do this. And the bride was like, well, I don't, you know, how noisy it's going to be, and they showed a shot, like they kind of like zoomed out a little bit and you can see everybody like maybe 100 yards away, like doing wedding ceremony stuff. And it got to the point where, and let me pull this up so I can do a screen share because this was great.
Oh my God, did Gritty crash the wedding?
Well, hold on.
I want Gritty let's get remarried so Gritty can crash our wedding.
Hold on, let me share my screen real quick so I can we can explain what's going on. All right, we're gonna share and we're gonna go Chrome tab and we're gonna go that one. And as soon as it comes up, and the title is Lake Tahoe Wedding Gets Gritty.
Oh my God.
To the NHL. And not only did Gritty go to the wedding, Blades was there too. Hold on, where's the friggin' picture? Oh, there it is. Oh my God, my computer is so slow right now.
This is riveting radio.
I hope everyone's watching.
You can see here, you can see like the boat, like in the actual lake. You can see all the people. Like the Bruins are playing the Flyers, and less than 100 yards away, there's people.
Oh my God!
Yeah, what are we doing with our lives when we're not on a boat on Lake Tahoe, getting married, watching a goddamn NHL play a hockey game?
Yeah,
we're doing something wrong here, huh?
They are.
That's Gritty snowboarding, and yeah, there was a picture there earlier. I don't know what happened to it, but it was Gritty, and oh, there we go.
Oh,
excellent!
Does she know how lucky she is? Does she know?
I want to point this out. Blades and Gritty are both wearing face coverings because they have to be safe.
Mm-hmm.
But she's not. What the hell?
Yeah, right. Well, I mean,
what the hell?
Like
my special day. I can do what I want.
But you know, they because they moved the time of the wedding because the wedding was that Sunday. They moved the time because they were like, "Are we going to have like hockey players like walking through our procession?" Like, I'd be like, "That's fine." So, Bergie, you want a drink? Pasta, open bar.
Don't bring him. Don't bring that guy. Hide your wife. Hide your children.
We got Barbie girl and an open bar. Come on down. Pasta's on his way.
Grab your girl. Run away.
Hey, are you? What are you doing here? Are you single? I'm the bride. Oh, I just thought you had a very nice dress.
Come here often.
So, do you live around here often? But yeah, I thought that was pretty awesome.
Oh man.
Like if your wedding's going to get crashed by anyone, like that's so much better than the people who had their wedding crashed by Trump. Hey, look at me. It's like, why are you here? Get out. It's Gritty. It's like, fuck yeah, I'm going to fight Gritty.
What do you want you to fight Gritty?
Somebody would get drunk and fight Gritty. I guarantee you that one of my brothers would try to fight Gritty at my wedding. True.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, our wedding.
I would say your wedding.
Or he would yell at him, you know, like.
Yeah. So, and right on fucking cue, talking about how they're winning and they're doing well. Let's see how they do against the Islanders tonight. They just gave up a goal. It's 3-2 Islanders right now. So.
Again, some reason they cannot win against the Islanders, and for some reason, every time they play the Islanders, Halak is in goal, and I don't get it.
Oh,
don't get it.
See, look at this. He's trying to get rid of the puck. It's Trent Frederick. It's stuck in his shoes.
And speaking of Frederick, who had his first NHL career goal at Lake Tahoe.
Yeah, I keep wanting to say Lake Placid because it was just the anniversry of
we'll
Miracle.
talk about that in a minute.
But yeah, the Canadiens have fired Claude Julien, or as I call him, Claude Julien, because he has that weird squished-in face, and assistant Kirk Muller and Dominique Ducharme named interim head coach. And, you know, to kind of touch on what we talked about with the Canadians earlier, you can't coach the Canadians unless you speak fluent French. Like, that's what you could be the greatest goddamn coach on the planet. Do you speak fluent French? You don't? Sorry. Next. Yeah.
Really? Is that a qualification for that?
Prerequisite, yeah, 100%.
Jeremy Lauzon for the Bruins will be out for about 4 weeks following hand surgery. So, I mean, 4 weeks. So right around the time that fans can be back in the stands for the 8-game home stand, he'll be back. So what were you going to talk about?
Yeah, so earlier this week on February 22nd, it was the 41st anniversary of the Miracle on Ice. For those who don't know, that is when the 1980 U.S. Olympic men's hockey team beat the Soviet 4-3. And this was huge. Now that wasn't the game that they won the gold. They actually went on to win the gold, not gold.
That was to go to the gold medal game.
Right. So they beat the Soviets to move on to play Finland, which they beat and then ultimately won the gold medal. But the reason why the Soviet game was so important is because they had no business beating the Soviets. The Soviets at that time were the most dominant team in the world. And they were bigger. They were stronger, they were faster, and they were more conditioned.
Better coached. Well, maybe not better.
And older, right?
Older.
They were men, right? Like
some guys had been playing together for 15 years. And they had just smoked the NHL All-Stars. And they had just smoked, even worse, the USA team in an exhibition 10-3,
and this was just a couple of days before Lake Placid.
Less than 2 weeks.
So you know
in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah. So you know the U.S. was kind of going through it at that time with Cold War and a lot of other stuff that was happening.
Hostage crisis, 3 Mile Island.
Yeah, I would say it was not a good time in the early 80s for the U.S. and they really needed something to believe in. And these kids, because they were kids.
Some of them were 18
college,
to 20.
Right. You know, I don't think any of them were really older than 21, 22 years old. Wanting to play for Team USA, to play a couple more minutes of hockey before hanging up their skates and having to go. I mean, I think there were talks of a couple of them going into the NHL.
Yeah, a couple of guys,
but
Jim Craig had an offer from
Atlanta. They were just looking for that one last little bit of playing hockey before hanging up their skates to go out into the real world. You know, and these kids from these different backgrounds, from rival universities, you know, coming together and learning how to work together to become Team USA and defeat the Soviets. It was. I mean,
It was better than Rocky beating Drago.
I was going to say, like,
really
for lack of better word, a miracle on ice. Do you believe in miracles?
If you could have scripted a movie, like this is the script that every sports movie
and it's
goes
funny
on.
Because, going through, and we watch Miracle every year on the anniversary because that's my thing. I'm obsessed with
love the movie. Love it. Yeah.
U.S.
If you haven't seen it,
team.
for folks who are watching, it's on Disney Plus.
I have Mike Eruzione's autobiography in my possession. I plan on reading it at some point. But,
signed.
Yeah, and it's signed by him.
All right.
But anyways, I even met Mike Eruzione when I was in college. He did he's a public speaker now. I mean, he's a businessman, but he's also a public speaker. And he goes around, and my roommate at the time was from Winthrop, where he's from. And she went to school with his kids. Her dad was a head chef at a restaurant that she was a hostess at and seated him. So like she knew him and she's like, hey, do you want to meet him? And I was just like, yeah. So, I mean, I met him and completely fell silent, had no idea what to say to him. I was just like, hi, it's nice to meet you.
Join us next. That will be Mike Eruzione. Yeah. I'm going to keep saying that until it's true.
Yeah, you got to manifest it. But anyways, this was huge. These kids had no business winning that game, and they did, because what they had that the Soviets didn't have was a whole lot of heart. And
was Walt Disney scripting their lives.
Well, if you think about
Disney's
it,
like, yes.
Funny. Like I said, we watched the movie, and I was just happening. I was scrolling through the IMDb comment section, and people were like, "Oh, this is so typical Disney, like blah 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 blah." And it's like, do you guys not realize that like this is based off of real events?
This
is
happened.
What really
Here is the footage from the actual game. You can look it up. This is the Olympics.
And to be honest, I felt like Disney fell short of actually what was happening in the world around us a little bit. They were still kind of focusing on the kids and the game and whatever. But there was so much other shit happening, like Ash has just said, that it was like, this is incredible. And I mean, I think that just the movie didn't capture that as best as I thought it could have.
No, I agree.
What was really happening.
And if they
I mean, Herb Brooks said it for like a sentence, but I think there was a lot more of that happening.
And like they put a lot of it into the background. Like, you had the opening like montage of all the stuff that was going on, and like the typical newscast exposition of like the hostage crisis while he's sitting there doing his coach work, like all the stuff that's going on. And it's for people who lived through it, like I didn't. It's a little bit before my time, but folks who lived through it were like, there was so much going on. And if they played that game anywhere else, like I don't think they win.
Well, I mean, like it was everything. It was the fact, it was the timing, it was the location, it was the kid. You know what I mean? Like these kids from all over North America, all over the U.S. Like really, just when you think
a lot
of
guys
like,
from Boston and Minnesota,
like when you think of, the wholesome boys next door, like they kind of really fit that mold.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people were able to kind of see themselves in some of these kids. They were underdogs, and they were able to band together. And the reason why they won is because they were able to work together and work well together and really be a team. And, Mike Eruzione was named the captain, and he was by far not the best player on the team.
He almost got cut.
Yeah.
It was between him and Ralph Cox.
But he wanted to be there so bad, and he did an amazing job keeping everyone else together and creating this family-like atmosphere, and he was the one who went on to score the winning goal in that game.
Yeah.
You see, yeah. So I mean,
like that's a recurring theme in the movie where they're like, oh, if you don't start putting the puck in the net, you might be going home. And he did when it was very important. Although, was it Mark Johnson? Mark Johnson with the 2 goals?
Yes.
Including that one with a second left.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
But I mean, the Soviets had the best goalie in the world.
You just put the best goalie in the world on the bench.
Yep.
Fuck.
You know, so
Fortitude.
I mean,
Oh shit.
It's such an amazing thing to even watch now, you know, to go through. And one of my favorite things to do is just rewatch the last minute of that game, you know, the way that these kids are able to hold on to that lead. Jim Craig is standing on his fucking head, saving goals left and right.
And he was definitely concussed.
You know, like it was just, and the icing on the cake of all of this is the announcing.
Oh, Al Michaels was awesome. Like,
you know, you could just hear the excitement
that
in
dude.
his voice.
That dude ended up with 40 years worth of jobs because of that call he made.
That was it, right?
You know, and just allowing himself to be swept up in all of what was happening for a moment, saying, "Do you believe in miracles?" Like, you know, it's just
and even
my heart stops every time. Like,
even the pregame stuff that they showed with him and Don Drysdale, like, yeah, Halak just had to get a new stick because he just smashed the shit out of it on the goalpost.
Oh, getting chip. The Bruins getting chippy out there.
He got a little. He got mad because he just gave up another goal that he shouldn't have given. But 4-2 with 9 minutes left.
So, anyways, going into the standings so far.
Yeah, standings. We got. Let's pull up the rankings here where everybody stands as of today, if it wants to come up. Yep, and there it is. So Tampa bounced right back up. They were in fourth place when we talked on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And now they are back into second place. Again, they've played fewer games than the teams around them. Like Chicago, Columbus, Florida, and Carolina have all played more games than they have. Panthers still holding on their narrow lead. But the not the Senators. The Senators are beating somebody, but it's not Florida. Florida's got their narrow lead 1 point. So, but Tampa's got a plus 23 goal differential, which is just filthy. Boston, by comparison, plus 15. Still not bad. Washington has got a minus 3, and they're in second place. But Boston's played fewer games, but they're at the top of their division, which bodes well.
Mm-hmm. If they can beat the fucking Islanders
and the Devils.
Wait, can I go back? Can I go back to the opening face-off question?
You don't want to see him play the
I don't want to see him play the Islanders.
All of a sudden, Semyon Varlamov.
Maybe if they put Rask in net.
Yeah, maybe start your number one goaltender.
Just can't keep up with, because I mean, clearly it's not the offense, because the offense is, you know, scored.
And
so
this could be a huge shift if they win and Boston loses. Boston's still in first place, but New York rockets up into second place with the 2 points. They'll have 23, which will put them ahead of Washington's 22 and Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and the Islanders are all tied with 21 right now. So back over to the North Division. Toronto,
by far,
still 6 points ahead.
But Edmonton,
they've also played the most games.
Yeah, but
it doesn't
Edmonton
matter.
has moved up a lot.
Edmonton's in second place still with
which I
26
expected
points.
from them. They've been playing really well, and
Draisaitl and McDavid can't be stopped.
Minds.
Winnipeg 23 points, Montreal 22, which is I don't get. I mean, they had lost 3 in a row. They were 4-4-2 in their last 10. I mean, that seems a bit much to fire your coach over.
I mean, maybe there was something else. Maybe they realized that, you know what, you can't win games playing defense alone.
You can't win games 0-0. Yeah,
right.
That was his problem here, because he tried to win games 0-0 and would not change his lines, would not
and wouldn't play the younger players,
and wouldn't. It was always first line, second line, third line, fourth line, first line, second line, third line. It was not, I need to get a good matchup. Let me throw Krejci up on the top line and see what we can get something. Nope, first line, second line, third line, fourth line. Like everybody stayed on their wings. Like
that's where
unless there was
Cassidy
an injury,
is by far an improvement. And we've seen, they've been contenders for the past few years.
Cassidy in one game gave us more line combinations than Julian gave us in like 7 years.
His entire career in Boston.
Well, the Bruins are on the power play, so let's see if their power play can do something. Live updates as events warrant. Oh, no, yeah, they're about to give up a shorthanded goal. And
Yep.
Oh, shit.
Damn it, Halak.
Jean-Gabriel Pageau. Oh, somehow the TV accidentally turned off. Jesus Christ. So that's going to end hockey talk right now. So let's move on.
We're just not even going to finish the rest of the standings.
In more ways than one, we're done.
It's tight.
It's just done. We're just
tight
done.
in the West.
It's
Vegas
tight
up top. Vegas and Colorado vying for that top spot, but it's very tightly bunched, like we said last week. Not a whole lot's changed since Sunday. It's Thursday now. All right, I spelled this guy's name wrong. I said Taiwana. So baseball. One of my favorite things that I thought was pretty great. One of my favorite stories this week. So the Mets, Taijuan Walker, he signed with them as a free agent. He had to change his number to number 99 because the number 00 he wears or used to wear is worn by Mr. Met.
I'm sorry, you have to change your number because our mascot wears that number.
Like, now, was that on his own volition, or did the organization was like, you should change
his number because Mr. Met wears 00? Which is probably the best reason to change a number I've ever heard.
And baseball is like one of the most superstitious sports. Like, that guy's gonna freak out. Oh my God.
Like, that's awesome. Now, so let's talk about the Seattle Mariners.
Oh, do we have to? No.
Well, Kevin Mathers had to resign as president of the Mariners after a video surfaced of him criticizing the English-speaking abilities of two of the members of his organization, as well as discussing the manipulation of the service time of their top prospects. So basically, when it comes to the service time of top prospects, every fucking team does this. Now, the way they do it, what we're referring to here is a team has control over a player for X amount of time based on the collective bargaining agreement. If you say, okay, we're going to delay you, like you're a top prospect, like you should be starting opening day, but we're going to delay you a month so that this year doesn't count as a full year of service. So you get an extra year of team control. You'll still be contributing, but we're going to be paying you dirt. So you won't see stuff like the Fernando Tatis Jr. 14-year, $340 million deal because he's not eligible yet. He's still on his entry-level contract. He's making $2 million, even though he just hit, just pick random player. He hit 25 home runs and had 85 RBI in, 100 games. Let's just throw numbers out,
Mm-hmm.
And he talked about it. So he said the quiet part out loud. I saw the video. I saw like some of the stuff that he had said. And, he was talking about one of the scouts who used to play for them, who like all of a sudden, like, he's like, yeah, we're not going to pay for an interpreter anymore. And he's like, ooh, all of a sudden his English got way better. And it's like, that's no. And then he gave somebody else a hard time. He's like, yeah, he doesn't speak English so great. It's like, this kid, you drafted him at 17 and he has been working with the team to learn English. And last year gave an interview completely in English. And it was like one of the proudest moments of his life because he was able to do it. And you're up here like mocking him. It's like, ugh.
Well, this guy's a dirtbag anyway. He had a history of with women, like in the organization. Yeah. So I think this was like a last straw. With his resignation came with the swiftness because I think his history really was starting to open up, and the Mariners were like, "Get the fuck out," because we know your past, and we don't want that getting out. So I think there was a couple women in the organization that he was getting a little handsy with, and he got promoted for that. Well, I think the timing of that was one of their most successful seasons too. They had 116 wins with him. Yeah. So I don't know how much that had to play, but still, the optics were terrible back then. And then this coming out now, and it was a slew of comments, right? It's not like, most of these guys probably say this throughout the season, just individually as it goes. And it's fine. It's hidden. But this guy said it all in one nice little paragraph.
It was like a 45-minute Zoom call.
Yeah, and it was terrible. And the guy had a history, and the Mariners were said goodbye. Like we don't need this right now. And good for them. So good for him, getting the hell out of there, and hopefully the Mariners right the ship, I guess.
I would like to think that, except that, like you said, he had this history with women, and it's not like they could complain to anyone because he was the head of HR.
Oh.
So, good job, Mariners. Like, I have these complaints against me. Well, I'll take it up with HR. No, that's a scumbag thing to do. And you're right. He's definitely a scumbag dude. And
yeah.
No
bueno.
No. Let's see. Jose Abreu tested positive for COVID-19. I think he'll be fine by the start of the season, but you never know what kind of adverse effects he's going to have.
Sure. Monitor that. All right. Fantasy baseball, not on my team.
Yeah.
Right. Are we doing that together? Or you're in the league with us this year, right?
Yes. I'm going to be doing that. I think I already set it up. I don't know. I have to look because we still have some time before it starts. I was thinking about that earlier today. I was like, oh shit, I haven't drafted my team. I hope I didn't miss. Oh wait, it's the end of February. I don't think position players have even showed up yet.
Yeah, I think I'm all right.
Pitchers and catchers just showed up 2 weeks ago. Oh God. The Twins' top prospect, Royce Lewis, has torn his ACL and will miss the entire season. The next thing I want to talk about, Jay, unless you have anything else you want to add to Major League Baseball.
No, I was kind of looking at Royce Lewis over there. Is he up with Minnesota now, or did they call him up finally, or is he still in the minors, or where is he playing right now?
Well, I imagine that he probably wouldn't have played the first month and a half, so they could manipulate his playing time.
Man, good lead. All right.
But either way, he's out for the entire season. Like he's their top guy. Like I think he was going to be competing for a job.
I'm sure this was the season. I mean, I think he spent 3 seasons down in the minors, and he was probably getting ready to get called up, and bam. So, but the good news is the kid's 21, right?
Yeah,
he's a young dude. So maybe this, and just watching some of the athletes in football and basketball, and even in baseball with these ACLs, man, I think he's going to be bounced back next season, no problem. So
yeah, I mean, 8, 9, an ACL is not the career ender it used to be.
Correct. So, all right, power rankings. Let's go.
Yeah, power rankings. You got to have these are the top 10 we're going to go with according to ESPN. They have the Dodgers up top. I'm fine with that. They're defending, and they added one of the best arms in baseball.
Yeah, right.
I'm fine with that. That's number 1. Where I have an issue, though, I think the Padres are number 2. They were a really good team last year, and they have just been adding pitching, and adding just players and pieces that they're going to be. I think they're going to challenge the Dodgers.
And they paid Fernando, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I expect his numbers to just keep soaring up. That guy's the rising star of Major League Baseball. So hopefully this power ranking, it's through ESPN. Good. Keep pumping up the Padres. I think what they're, like you said, their lineup, their team, there's youth, there's power, there's strength. I love it. Let's see more Padres. I want to see more on the national scene. Let's do it. I want to see Tatis's hair flowing in the wind as he smacks the shit out of the ball. Let's do it.
I'm gonna be pulling for the Padres this year because I know the Red Sox aren't gonna go.
I didn't see him on the list here. So
they were. I think they were 31st out of the 30 teams.
Oh fuck! Yeah, damn it.
Bad, but I do predict them to finish last in their division. Mm-hmm. So. They have the Braves at 2. I mean, Braves, Padres. I mean, I'm fine with that. 2-3. I'm fine. The Rays, I mean, it's a little disrespectful that you put the American League champs down to 4th place, but they also lost their best pitcher.
Yeah.
And I don't think their style of play, like having an opener, like having one guy pitch every, like I hate their style of baseball, and I hate the fact that Chaim Bloom came over to the Red Sox from them and was like, "We're gonna do this. First order of business, trade Mookie." All right, I got good news and bad news. What's the good news? Well, the good news is I got rid of David Price. That's awesome. What's the bad news? Mookie went with him. But David Price is gone. Hey, what about my dog Astro? White Sox, I'm fine with the White Sox being there, although I would probably put the Yankees 4th.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're splitting hairs here. I thought the same thing. I was like, yeah, Yankees, I could see, I see them higher than where they're at right now. But again, we're splitting hairs in this, like probably after the top 3 or whatever. It's kind of like all muddled, like I'm sure they're all going to be like a couple wins in
I will say
separated.
Though, you're saying like, oh, I really think the Yankees are going to be good and they're going to win the division. Like this dirt is not coming out.
I know.
Like,
yeah.
So gross. I feel like I need to upgrade my body wash after saying.
Yeah, but it's the Rays too. I mean, even that is just like I'm like the Rays. Come on.
I don't see the. I think the Rays were a flash in the pan. I don't see them repeating what they did last year.
Well, it's like and Blake Snell, right? You said he's gone, so I'm like, all right. You just there's 20 wins out the door.
They do that all the time, though. Like that's their thing. Like, oh, this guy's getting good and probably needs to get paid. All right, fuck you. You're out of here. Like.
Yeah, they're a farm system. They always were, right? Isn't that what Florida is anyway for every sport? Aren't they the farm system for any major sport?
Yeah, and they'll pull somebody up like those the guys for the Cardinals that like they'd pull some random kid up to pitch and he throws 103 miles an hour. Like did that for years. Like every single kid that they pulled up, it's like, yeah, he's a middle reliever. He throws a 101 and like that's it. Like that's what he does. And he would flame out after a year, but there were 2 more guys to replace him.
Yeah, right.
Twins, Athletics, Mets, Cubs. I mean,
Mets is a surprise, right? I mean, I'm taken aback by that a little bit. Be like, all right, Mets. I guess they made a lot of moves, right? Aren't they trying to make some acquisitions here and trying to?
I forget who they picked up, but they picked up a big name.
A huge name from the White Sox, like a huge shortstop infield player. Again, the name's escaping me, but the guy's an all-star, I think. So
yeah, like it was a big move. It was a big move. And now
it's either shortstop or second baseman. And it's a Spanish name that I couldn't even pronounce anyway. So
let's see. Hold on. Who did the? Oh, I can't even spell. Who did the Mets? Francisco Lindor.
Oh, so was it Cleveland? Was he?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Francisco Lindor, that's who they got.
Second baseman, still an all-star, right? Yeah. I mean,
big name, like that's going to help. Then you got they have Dodgers, Braves, Padres, Rays, White Sox, Yankees, Twins, Athletics, Mets, Cubs, and I think that's fine. Not a bad top 10. I mean, we'll see what happens.
There's always going to be that one team out that's not on this list. It's going to be like in the top 5. So,
yeah, like I don't see the Astros on this list. I don't see any of those teams that have been competing.
Right.
The Rockies. Who knows? They're a team that could contend, but I don't know. Anything else we want to add on MLB?
When does training camp start?
Well, pitchers and catchers are down in Florida and Arizona as we speak. The Red Sox did a virtual truck day, which is just stupidest shit I've ever heard.
Or are they just packing their trucks or something? They never was watching.
The day after the Super Bowl, it's like a big thing. Everybody goes down to Fenway to watch them load up the truck, and then they close the truck, and then they drive away. Oh, know, it's such a big thing. It's a dumb tradition, but it's a fun tradition. Like people will take the day off from work and bring their kids to watch the truck drive from Fenway. It's like, hey, a truck. Woo-hoo, can't see that at just anywhere. And then they drive 1,500 miles down to Florida, like with all the stuff. That's probably way easier to just ship, but
riveting.
But yes, this year they did it virtually. Here they are. Oh, look at that! They just put in some Gatorade jugs. Oh, whoa! Oh, looks like the one on the bottom, the cover's a little loose. So he's going to take the one on top of it, screw that on a little better. Oh, way to go, Jimmy! And he just stacked it up. They're like, whoa! He dropped that bag of balls. Good thing they're all in that bag. They'd be rolling every which way. They're not though. It's just like
play by play on how we pack a truck.
No, I think he's got a little more room up top. Oh, he's just flipping the bases up there. Look at that. He's tossing them like flapjacks up to the top of the truck. That's a good strategy. What do you think? Yeah, Jerry Remy and fucking
yeah. I was like, I'd tune in for that if Remy was giving the whole play by play on that. So that'd be fun.
He's loading in he's loading in the bats vertically. You got to wonder if that move's going to pay off for him later on down the road.
Oh man!
All right, so let's move on to the NBA.
Yeah, we packed that one in pretty tightly there, Pat. So.
So as we were recording on Sunday, the Celtics were in the midst of blowing a 24-point lead against the Pelicans. As I called it on the episode, I'm like, well, the Pelicans have cut the lead to 5 with 4 minutes left, so they're going to lose this game, and they did. Then they lost to the Mavericks. They are currently, and Jay, I know you have some thoughts on the Celtics. Celtics are currently dead last in the Atlantic Conference. They are tied with the Knicks. Always good to be mentioned with the Knicks, who just acquired a former shell of an all-star, Derrick Rose. They are out of the playoff picture. They've lost 8 of their last 10. Gave up 71 points to Trae Young and 600-year-old Danilo Gallinari. Will we see an impactful trade, and will it be somebody coming, or will it be somebody going? Jay, what do you think?
So James and I had a pretty lengthy and hot discussion about this on our last show about should a trade happen. And again, I kind of got sucked into the unfortunateness of the abyss of the Boston sports media and tried to figure out, like, what the hell are they talking about? Because I try to stay away. I try not to listen too much because I don't want them tainting my mind. I love the Celtics. I watch them. I'm still going to watch them tomorrow. Nothing's changing for me. I'm still riding them as I ever would. But as far as a trade, so they have this big trade exception, but that trade exception can also be extended into the summer into an acquisition for next season. So in my heart of hearts, to grab a guy on such a short-term basis, if it's not a buyout guy, I don't know how much impact he's actually going to have on this team because there's something wrong with this team. It's not somebody coming in fixing that problem. Whatever needs to be fixed needs to be internally. It needs to be with Brad Stevens and the other coaches, with the players. Jalen and Jason Tatum they need to step up. It's asking a lot. They've been in the league for 3 or 4 years, respectively. They're only 24 and 23, respectively. So to really put that on their shoulders, they got what they wanted. I heard Felger say that today. This is their team now. But it's. I don't want to put it on them to say figure it out right now because that's not what they're playing for. Their short game isn't it. And after seeing what the Nets have done with putting their team together, seeing what the Sixers have done, and seeing where the Bucks are at, I said back on our show when we were doing the NBA preview, the Celtics were still a 4 or 5 seed. I don't see them passing them. Never saw it. So yes, punt on the season, keep that trade exception, see what happens in next season. Because you never know what might happen to a team. Somebody might get upset, and then there's a better bait to get on this team. So as far as I'm concerned, stick with the team, ride this out, You internally, you young guys, figure it out. I'm putting my faith in that. Brad Stevens, start getting, I don't know, hot. Like, let's get on these guys. Like, don't be so passive. And the way that his interview at the last game last night, he came out. He said, "This is on me. I got to be more aggressive." And he literally called out the team and said, "You need to hustle. You need to go after balls. You guys aren't doing this. You're not making great cuts." He literally called them all out. So as long as that sticks, I'm like, good, finally do something about it. Call them out and, make them play, make them bring some heart.
I agree with what you say mostly on your assessment of Brown and Tatum, but here's my rebuttal to that. Like, oh, well, you can't really put it on them to turn all that all around. Oh, just sign huge extensions for like max or close to max money. That's what those types of players do. So, I get that your plan was to also have Kemba do something and that you thought that Jeff Teague was going to be more than, essentially a marionette with cut strings. I thought that, Tristan Thompson was going to be the double-double guy that they needed. Mm-hmm. But none of those things have worked out. And, when you have games where, Brown and Tatum, can't hit a shot from three and, oh, my God. This just in. Bruins lost 7-2.
Fuck. What, they just give up after that?
They put Blades in goal. They put Cassidy in goal.
Oh, man.
They figured that no goalie was better than a goalie.
Oh. Well, they gave up fewer goals without the goalie than they did with.
This is true.
But yeah, I think if you're going to be paying these guys, all this money, and stop taking guys with known injury histories.
Yes.
You got to stop it.
Yes.
Because it's like, oh, we traded for Kyrie and he had knee problems and hasn't been able to play a full season. Well, gosh, golly gee, I had no idea. Oh, Kemba Walker has a terrible knee, and let's give him $30 million a year.
Well, karma came back with Gordon and Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas they traded, and I still think there's a huge cloud over the Celtics about that. The NBA does not look at that team with the same eye, like Danny Ainge sending off a player that was totally injured to Cleveland for Kyrie. The NBA is not, players, I think, see that and say, I don't know if I want to go to Boston. And I think there's some karma behind that too. Yeah. We take the injured, but we've also given it out. So karma's a bitch in that regard.
Honestly, I would have rather, and I said this, I think I said it on your show, but I know I said it on our NBA preview. I wanted Isaiah Thomas back. You're going to tell me Isaiah Thomas couldn't do better than what Jeff Teague is giving you right now? Yeah, he's a defensive liability, but you suck on defense. You can't score. I think Isaiah would, kind of spice things up a little bit. Yeah, no, he's not the same guy that should have won the MVP in, 2017, 2018. Mm-hmm. He's not that same guy. But, give him a chance. You bring him, fucking Jeff Teague? Jesus. You're relying on Nesmith and Peyton Pritchard and, fucking get rid of Time Lord. Oh my God.
You don't like his what don't you like? That he's just kind of jumpy, or he just seems like a space cadet on defense.
The fact that he's I don't really have to pay attention because I have the wingspan to kind of make up for it. But yeah, maybe against mid-tier guys, but against good players, you have to pay attention. And you've been in the league how long, and you still don't know how to play defense?
Yeah, I think, what is he, 20? He's only 21. He's a poor man's DeAndre Jordan back on Lob City. That's all he does. He's a dunker. And he gets a couple defensive rebounds, and that's it. That's all he does. That's all. And I think that's all they want to play him for anyway. That's why his minutes are super limited, but he does have a plus minus that's not as terrible as some of the other guys on that bench. That's the problem. Your best guy is Robert Williams, Pritchard. It's not great. I'm actually quivering here, trying to figure out who their best bench guy is. It's awful. Their second team and third team are awful.
At this point, you know what? Fuck it. Get rid of Teague. Give me some goddamn Taco Fall.
Yeah, why not? Because the announcers were saying it during the game. You throw the guy in the game, every team's looking at this like, what the fuck do we do? Like he's 7'5". Like he's gonna cause problems. He's gonna cause people to hesitate and not come into the lane, and he's gonna get boards, and he's going to play some defense. And the problem is it's a slow game. When he goes in, all they do is foul. That's the one thing I don't like about Taco is like, oh, wait for this. This game's going to last 10 extra minutes because he's in the game because they're just going to foul. And it's just like, all right, this is a boring game because he goes to the line and throws like a pebble at a toilet bowl. It's like, Jesus.
He's not a good free throw shooter. And that's just one thing that I have never understood throughout my entire life. Why can't everyone hit 90+% of their free throws? Like, I don't get it. I understand why I couldn't, but I don't play basketball. LeBron shoots 70% from the line. What the fuck is that?
Yeah. So I don't know. It's a free throw. Like nobody's there bothering you. The fans, you would think that they would get in your head, but they don't. That's not really what it is. It's all psychological. It's like a 4-foot putt in golf. It's like, you just tense up. It's all psychological. It's in your head. It's like you said, I could go out there and nail a shot, no problem. But you put 50,000 people in an arena. I think my head gets to my arms, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing at that point, but.
Yeah, it's like you can do all these like crazy, like behind the legs and between the legs dribble moves, like all these cool crossovers. Like all these guys will do these amazing moves, and then they get to the free throw line, and like Shaq was the most unstoppable fucking force I have ever seen, and he's just like he shot free throws like he was a toddler. Like it was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. It's like just shoot like you're shooting normal. Like why are you like holding the ball with one hand and like volleyballing it with the second? Like, is that how you normally shoot? No. Yeah. Like, why are you doing that?
And to be honest, I think I heard back in LA, he used to have, shooting coaches for free throws, and that's all he would do. He wouldn't practice one time, like 1 minute of doing anything and just free throws. And he still shot 40% on his career. Oh, so not great. It's all like he said. It's just a psychological thing. He's like, you get me out of the gym, I'll nail 10 out of 10. And you get me into a game, I don't, just can't do it. The mechanics are all gone. But I don't know. I'm sorry. We kind of went on a tangent here.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I don't. That's the name of the game here.
Yeah.
And to kind of wrap up the NBA, Malik Beasley was suspended for 12 games, stemming from a gun charge back in September. Random, weird.
That took a long time to go through its process because that happened in December before the season even started.
Yeah.
And he played 30, he played all the way almost to the All-Star break, and they're like, oh, now let's hit him with it. He must have COVID too, and just say, stay away.
Like 12 game suspension. Like that's such an arbitrary number.
It's a month. That's like a month.
Yeah. Well, it's a sixth of the season. You're playing 7 games.
It is substantial. So they really threw the book at him, but it took a while. That's all I'm saying. Like that should have been done back in December, man. Like, what are we waiting on?
Yeah, he got arrested in September, and like they became aware of it in December, and then they're just like, yeah, whatever. Either of you guys got anything on the NBA? I know you're not a big NBA.
No.
You're not a big.
No, it's dire times right now, but I'm not jumping off. I'm okay. I do like a lot of players, and I'm a guy that's like I know we joked about it for the show 26, but I'm a big Aaron fan, and I hope he gets more minutes. So,
one last question before we move on to football. Do you think the Lakers are in trouble, or do you think LeBron should be playing better? I know he doesn't have Anthony Davis, but shouldn't the greatest player in the world, like the greatest of all time, shouldn't he be able to like?
And that's what he says. No. Hold on. That's what he says.
I know.
He's been very, very like, I am the best player in the NBA and I should be better. I'm like, what the fuck, dude?
Like, shouldn't he be able to lead his team? Like, can he not win without Anthony Davis by his side?
Yeah, I hope the MVP discussion's going a little quiet on his end. I hope other people are getting more respect because this is indicative. You lost why you're doing so well at age 36. Let's be honest.
Yeah. That's I just wanted to throw that out there, because it's kind of funny. It's like, oh, he's the MVP, he's the MVP, he's the MVP. Every year he's the MVP. Then all of a sudden Anthony Davis goes down. It's like, wow, everybody sucks. Like, no, now that they can't play, they can't do anything.
Yeah, I like to deflect too, where I'm like, yeah, Celtics are playing like shit. But I was like, hey, have you watched the Laker game recently? They're 1-4 right now. They're 1-4 without AD. So
what's your thought on Chris Paul making it to the All-Star game over Devin Booker?
And this is where I don't get it. AD's hurt. He's not playing in it. He should have never gotten the votes. And I'm sure it was because of the fans or whatever, but Booker took his place anyway, so it's okay. It all worked out in the end. I still think it's bullshit, but you got to look at, and we said it in our show, and I know a lot of people were looking at the Suns. I think you mentioned it. I think maybe Corey or somebody. We were the bright future Suns. Everyone was looking at them, and I think it does have a lot to do with Chris Paul. Now, I think they gave it to him based on his veteran leadership, and he's been in the league, and he's an ambassador, and let's get him into the All-Star game and send him on his way. But I think that's all it was. I think it's just, like you've been here before and, but sometimes those guys shouldn't make it. And the guys that are young and 20, like look at Brown, right? He's 24 years old, first All-Star game, but the guy's putting up some of the best numbers out East. So it makes sense, but it's like, will he do it again? Maybe not. I hope so.
I was gonna say, I hope with that contract.
Yeah. I mean, I'm high on him. He's my favorite player in the NBA. So I hope so, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's only going to make 3 or 4 more, because there's a lot of good players, and he's still pretty young. So
a lot of real good wings in the East, in the NBA in general. Like that's kind of where the future of the position's going.
Yeah. I think to your point, if we went positionless for the All-Star game, then, there's more like question of why Devin Booker should be on the list and some of the centers should be off. That's all. Because there's some centers that I would take off before him, but not Jokic. But
not Jokic.
But that's I guess what we were getting to. There's positionless. So especially out East, like Vucevic made it. And I'm like, great, I guess, for Orlando. But I was like, there's Trae Young probably should have made it. Young guy, good guard. Everyone wants to see him. To me, but because they needed to fill a center position, he got it. And I'm like, that's where I say that doesn't make any sense.
See, I'm a big proponent of abolishing fan voting for.
I heard your last show. I agree. It's like who gives who cares who the most popular guy is? I want the best guys out on the court. And guess what? If you're over 35, you're not making it.
Fine. Yeah.
And if you're a rookie, you don't make it. Because you got to earn your spot.
Versus sophomore game, like have that game.
Yeah.
Bring that back. I lied. There's one more thing I want to bring up. So a couple of potential buyouts. Are there any guys that you would want to see come to the Celtics? And I'll just throw 2 names at you: Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond.
No, not really. I mean, I don't know what impact are they going to do this year. I feel like there's a potential here for us punting, and I think I'm okay with that. I'm mentally accepting that you'll punt and regroup next year and just try to build a better team. Danny and Brad, get your shit together. That's about it. Drummond I'd like as far as defense and rebounding, but God, I don't know. It just doesn't fit. He's a very weird position nowadays. And Blake Griffin, I think he's a shell of himself, and he's going to go chase a ring. I think he's going to go to LA or he's going to go to Brooklyn, just to be on a team where he can maybe get a ring. I think he's just going to chase. Drummond's still young enough that wherever he goes, he's going to move again. He's not going to stay wherever he goes.
Yeah, he'll play out this season and then sign a big deal next year.
Correct. Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to our final segment, being the NFL. So Des Bryant today has announced he wants to play 2 more years, just it won't be with Baltimore. He was 4th on their depth chart last year. He had 6 catches on 11 targets, 47 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That's a good game. over 4 games.
That's a great quarter,
Yeah. Over 4 games, he's obviously he's not the same after all those debilitating injuries. He gets cut by Dallas, and he doesn't play. Then he goes to New Orleans and like destroys his legs, like in a tryout. And he missed 2 years but came back. So like, I like him as like a third option on a decent team. Maybe a cheap option, maybe he goes to Kansas City or something, replace Sammy Watkins, on a 1-year prove it deal. Like, show us what you got, Dez. I mean, he's still big and strong and can, I don't know about his leaping ability, but he can still catch.
Yeah, I think his big thing is he can't get separation. Like, I think that is his big knock right now. I think that has to do with speed and some of his push off, with his feet. But as far as his body, his height, his strength, some of the things you just mentioned, he's a great within 5 yards, throw it up, he'll get it type of guy. He's a Mike Evans-ish, not as good, but or a little bit older. But he's a guy that, look at his stats. I bet you those 2 touchdowns were within 5 yards of the end zone. And I bet you it was a rollout. And they came up on Lamar, and he just kind of dumped it to him. So I don't know how awesome how awesome those numbers really are, because I don't remember watching it. I don't even remember he did that.
I know he had one good. He had like I remember him having like a long touchdown pass, like 20 plus yards, like on one play. But like that's one of his 11 targets,
and that's 50% of his yards.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think separation's a problem, and I don't know. I mean, if a team wants to, like you said, have them on the roster, maybe have them on the depth chart, and then have them do a couple red zone type targets, and I think he might get a couple TDs, or I'm sorry, a couple tutties, according to Gronkowski.
5-year-old Gronkowski. Gronk, too good.
I'm just gonna call him tutties from now on, man. I'm all in.
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say I wouldn't be surprised to see him sign a 1-year contract with somebody.
Yeah, prove it deal.
Yeah, like the Patriots.
I don't know if he has 2 more seasons left in him.
I think he does. He's only like 32.
Yeah, but I mean, sometimes you sustain these injuries and you just can't quite get back to the momentum that you once had.
No, he's never going to be the same player he was, but he also has 2 years of not getting hit and not taking all these shots, so it kind of evens out. Like maybe he plays the 2 more years.
With the right team, he could be beneficial.
Yeah, I think if it's
it
a
would
team
have to
that
be the
needs
right
a red
team.
zone target, put him on the hands team. Maybe somebody that's got some young receivers that need some veteran leadership. I don't know. I do know that the Patriots have called every team that has even had the slightest hint of maybe thinking about considering moving their quarterback. They were in on Stafford. They were in on Wentz. I'm surprised they didn't get Wentz, because that's like the type of the level of like outgoing capital that Belichick likes to spend on players. Mm-hmm. But he's got this huge contract, and if he won't do it for Brady, he's not going to do it for fucking Carson Wentz.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
he will go anywhere but New England.
Wait, who said that?
Stafford. He's like,
oh yeah,
you can trade me, but I'll waive my no trade clause for anybody except New England. I'm not going to New England. It's a fucking shit show, and I don't want Belichick to be my coach.
And I'm curious what his numbers are out in the cold in the weather, because he plays in a dome in Detroit. So maybe he knows, he's a stats guy. So maybe New England would suck.
Well,
outdoor in the elements, he's probably not that good.
Half his games are out, not half, but, he's got 2 games a year outside in Chicago, outside in Green Bay. I mean,
yeah, maybe if you run those numbers, they're not great. I don't know. I mean, I'm just throwing something out there. Maybe that's why. Again, on top of New England being a kind of a shit show right now, but I'm sure maybe weather and stats have to do with it too.
I think he's in a perfect place, and I am so pumped for him to show what he can do in.
They're going to be exciting for sure. The Rams.
I love me some Matt Stafford, and he's like a what, 10-year, 11-year veteran at this point. Be nice to see him win a playoff game. Like all those numbers he puts up don't mean a goddamn thing until you do something. Like, that's why, like, I had this huge, I wrote a whole article about it, and it drove me out of my fucking mind. Somebody talking about Mike Trout, one of the greatest player of all time. Like, can he maybe win a playoff game? Can his team have a winning record in back-to-back seasons? Because that shit's never happened. Like, the MVP debate when it comes to baseball drives me out of my fucking mind. I was like, yeah, give it to Trout. Why? Well, he's got the best WAR. Okay, his team finished 30 games out of first. How valuable is he? Like,
at least basketball has a right where the best player on the best team gets it. Like, that's
generally
all they do. Like, best team, best player. They get the trophy.
Like, it's wins above replacement. Like, that's the stat. Oh, so what'd they do before that? Like,
right.
That's not that. Like, I guarantee you, if you go back and look, Dustin Pedroia in 2008 did not have the best wins above replacement in all of Major League Baseball, or at least not even in the American League, maybe not even on his own team. So let's.
Yeah, right. No, I hear you.
If you're on a losing team, you can't be MVP.
The best player you never heard of. Sure.
So 10 teams, and this is something I found interesting because this was news that broke earlier today. 10 teams have contacted Seattle about Russell Wilson because he is not happy with his team. He's called them out publicly, but he gave a list of teams he'd be willing to go to. There's 4 teams: the Cowboys, the Saints, the Bears, or the Raiders. Jay, I'll start with you. Who do you think would be the best fit of those 4 teams?
As far as a fan goes, it's a tie between the Saints and the Raiders, and I know you're a Raiders fan, but that would be pretty fucking cool, right? I mean, as far as just the team, right? That would be cool. And the Saints, same thing. I think they're still a really good coach team, really good team, great defense. I think that would be pretty video game-ish and awesome. And the Bears, but I don't think the Cowboys. I don't know why they're on the list with I don't know. I still think they have their wagon hitched to Dak. What was that?
It's Dallas. It's America's team. It's it's the draw.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but like I said, I think it might still be Raiders, Saints, Bears, Cowboys. I think that would be cool. But as far as fit and how it's all going to work out, I think this is just it's going to be a long game here. I think this is what's going to keep the NFL in talk, and this is like a perfect story for the NFL to just keep pumping out. I mean, I think it's just let's just make this news cycle go. And I don't think I have more bet that he's going to be in Seattle for the rest of his career.
He'll probably stay in Seattle.
Yeah, I think this is a great story by the NFL. Let's pump this out. Come on, ESPN, help us out, and let's get some people talking about it. So here we are. So it would be a lot of fun, though, man. Russ on the Raiders. I am all for it for you. Like, not just for you, but for the team. That'd be fucking awesome.
Slashes, how about you? Where do you think would be the best fit of those 4 teams?
So I absolutely agree with the Raiders.
I'd love him on the Raiders.
I know you would. And the Raiders,
I think a lot of people would
promise.
Their defense, though, their defense sucks.
But I mean, their offense shows a lot of promise, and I think that would be really fun to watch. And I would love to have him on the Cowboys because I am a Cowboys fan, and I want my team to do something. I want my team to win games.
But we're going to touch on the Cowboys in a minute.
To make it to the playoffs. They looked good until Dak went down.
Didn't. They were 1-4.
They looked good until Dak went down.
They were 1-4, and they shouldn't have.
Dak looked good. Dak was throwing up like 500 yards a game.
Yeah, Dak was putting up numbers.
Yeah, he was amazing.
Deshaun Watson led the league in passing yards for a 4-12 team. Like,
I mean, I think the Cowboys kind of need to rebuild a little bit.
That's going to be tough to do when you have a $20 million defensive end, a $21 million wide receiver, and a $20+ million running back, and you got to pay a quarterback. If they bring Dak back, they have to pay him 40+.
Well, or if they trade for Russ, they're losing their whole future after that. So that team just gets really bad quick.
40+. Like one way or the other, you're paying somebody 40 plus. And I don't think Dak's going to run like he used to run.
I mean, the kid's still recovering. We'll see.
You saw that. I showed you that.
No, I know.
I was watching that game.
I know.
For me, I honestly I'd love to see him on the Raiders, but I don't think it's a good fit because they have a lot of holes that they need to fill. They have Jacobs, who's awesome. They have Waller, who's awesome. I don't know if they're going to bring Aguilar back or not. But if they don't bring Aguilar, they got third and Renfro, and Henry Ruggs showed a bit of promise.
Did he legally change his name, or
I don't know?
What'd you say? Third and Renfro.
Third Renfro, yeah. That's what they called him because he always made like those clutch Wayne Corbett catches.
Yeah, Wayne Corbett. Wow, man, coming from the rafters here. Awesome.
No, I was going to see. I always get him confused because he's Hunter Renfro, and the new Red Sox outfielder is also Hunter Renfro. And
Ow.
One is spelled O-E and one is O-W. That's the only difference. Also, they're two different people. That's a significant difference. And they play two different cities. But other than that,
they're like the same guy.
Yeah.
No, not Hunter Renfro. Hunter Renfro. Their offensive line is in flux. Like a bunch of guys are going to be gone, including a guy that I never wanted them to have in the first place, Richie Incognito. Fuck Richie Incognito. He's a piece of shit. Never should have been on that team. I wrote a whole article about that. Like, I hate Richie Incognito, and I never wanted him on my team. They have a lot of moving parts. They're going to be over the salary cap, even without taking on an extra $22 million in salary.
You got Henry Ruggs too, right? Is that your
Ruggs? Yeah. Renfro, Ruggs, and potentially Aguilar coming back. I really liked Aguilar, and I love the way that Derek Carr runs the offense, and he's finally had consistency with his offensive coordinators. But they need help on defense. Like you've seen in this league, without defense, you don't win anything. I think Russ going to the Saints would be the best move. Like, they wouldn't need to sign. They would trade Taysom Hill to the Patriots. Let Jameis Winston go also to the Patriots, and Russ running that offense with all those receiving weapons, and Kamara.
Well, Michael Thomas would stay, right? He would be happy
in a good defense, like a good solid defense.
And I don't know much, but out of all these teams, who has the best offensive line? The Saints?
Probably Dallas.
I remember hearing that 5 years ago. They're still that good, that healthy?
They're still good. The Raiders were still good, but like they're going to be like a lot of pieces are going to be moving.
Because I wouldn't be surprised if he chooses a really good offensive line to prolong his career, because that's what his number one complaint about Seattle is, that he's getting hit a lot. And I think it's a lot has to do with Sierra too, his wife. I think they're not longing for Seattle. I think they need one of these major metro. That's why Vegas just jumps off the page to me. I'm like, oh my God, I can see that. She could just perform in Vegas.
They would absolutely. I mean, it would be probably Carr, 2 picks, maybe a 3rd pick. But Carr this year's first, next year's first, and maybe like a conditional or 3rd.
And a suite at the Bellagio.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I would not hate, like, the offense would instantly get so much better.
Oh, yeah.
They would need to invest heavily on defense. Maybe you convince Richard Sherman to come play safety. I don't know.
Ooh.
I wouldn't hate that. He wants to play for another couple of years. But speaking of quarterbacks who might be on the move, let's start with Derek Carr and Marcus Mariota. Mariota is being actively shopped. The Raiders could keep him because one of the biggest complaints, and again, this ties into the Russell Wilson thing, one of the biggest complaints that Derek Carr had from John Gruden was he doesn't run enough. He used to be a scrambling type quarterback, obviously not like a Deshaun or a Lamar or a Mahomes, but he'd scramble a little bit. And he didn't really do that. When he got hurt and Mariota came in against the Chargers, like that's what Mariota was doing. He was running all over the place. So do you jettison Carr for a couple of draft picks and have Mariota as your starter if you can't get Russell Wilson or Dak Prescott or Deshaun Watson? I mean, the guy was a starting caliber quarterback. He got $100 million deal. Wasn't very good after a while and got replaced by fucking Ryan Tannehill, who then led the team to the playoffs.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like Carr. I'm a fan. I have a little Derek Carr. Little dude. Yeah, I got my Derek Carr. Yeah,
nice.
I like him. I mean, again, Russ would look good in a number 3, Daryl LaMonica, Jeff George type jersey.
Yeah.
Where he's just bombing the ball down the field. I think he stays, but I would not be surprised if he ends up going somewhere else. Where? I mean, most of these guys, I'm going to tie him back to the Patriots because, it's just the Patriots are calling everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I would be sad to see him go to the Patriots. I wouldn't care if Mariota went. Like, I have no attachment to Mariota. But I would hate to lose Derek Carr, especially because he's got a couple more years left on this. Yeah, this is what's insane. When he signed his deal, he was the highest paid player in the NFL. And then like a week later, I think Stafford broke it. And then when Garoppolo went to San Fran, he was the highest paid. Like now guys are making $40 million. This is 3 years ago he signed this extension.
Yeah, because it's like you never want to be the first guy to sign because you're an idiot. Because the next guy is going to beat your contract. It's like you be the first guy to sign, you're an idiot. And that's why Stafford was like, oh, perfect. And then Garoppolo was like, yes.
There's not a whole lot you're going to do with 27. You can't do with 25, But now guys, then you got Mahomes. I mean, Mahomes, the guy has an MVP and 2 Super Bowl appearances in his first 3 years.
Yeah.
So
I think that investment's fine. That's a
pretty good one.
Yeah.
But yeah, these guys, I don't know what is going to happen with Carr. I think he stays. What do you think, Jay?
Yeah, I agree. Unless this world graced us with Russell, I see that package kind of happening with Carr just kind of going then up to Seattle and a couple picks behind it. Other than that, I just don't see another landscape with him going to and then just staying in the system, kind of playing it out and kind of seeing what they could do with future picks and try to go that way. Mariota, there was a lot of talk with the Patriots, kind of looking into it. I know there's a lot of different trade clauses that he has and whatever. I don't think it really works for the Patriots, especially with the money, and Bill doesn't like to spend it on his quarterbacks. I'd love for him to show up in New England because then at least I know he's a stopgap quarterback and we have a different plan. We just need somebody to get through the season that's not Cam. So I'm like, that's cool. I know the future now. You're going to use this guy for a year and hopefully it's a stopgap to get to another guy. So I'm okay. But again, I don't think they're going to do that because of his trade clause or the way that his clauses, his contracts look. He's going to be too expensive for that. As far as Watson, again, NFL just loves pumping out these stories. I love it. I mean, I hope he goes somewhere. I heard a lot. Carolina seems to be a really good candidate. Send Bridgewater over, a couple picks, and then have him go over to Carolina, where he played his college career. He's kind of from that area, Atlanta, whatever. So that I've heard that kind of come around. I'm like, that'd be cool. Makes that division really fun. Saints, Carolina, Atlanta. I mean, sounds like a lot of fun over there. So now Mitch, I don't know. Is he going to be bagging groceries next year? Maybe. I don't know. I don't think he has any team wanting him, right? I mean, am I wrong?
I can't imagine him going anywhere, or if he does, that was one of the things they were saying, on The Athletic, talking about different packages that teams could offer for Russ. They're like, ooh, we'll give you former Super Bowl MVP Nick Foles and 2 draft picks or 3 draft picks. I mean, considering the deal that had to get done for Stafford, I mean, they only threw Goff in to match the money. Goff had nothing to do with that trade.
Yeah, They must be planning the long game again. Like I said, stopgap. Hopefully they win 2 games next year and draft a number 1 pick. I don't know. Like, what the hell is that? Because they have all these other picks too. So I'm like, man, they're just they're looking down the road, man. They're not good old Detroit. Just keep looking down the road. Never play for the season now.
Millen anymore.
What was that?
You can't blame Matt Millen anymore.
Yeah, right. So
let's talk the receiver. Do we have any tall receivers? Let's draft them. How about you? What do you think? Do you think Slashes? Do you think that Carr or Watson or Cam Newton? Do you think they're gonna find new teams, or do you think they're gonna end up right back where they were last year?
I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I hope Cam stays just
really
for the comedy.
No. I mean, I think the Patriots might have one more season with Cam Newton.
It seems like he was on that podcast with the 2 receivers there, Brandon Marshall and somebody else. And Cam was lying out of every side of his face because he's like, because Brandon Marshall's like, oh yeah, I remember Josh, and Cam's like, yeah, he speaks very highly of you. It's like, no, he didn't. He shipped you out of town because you guys couldn't agree in Denver when he was the head coach.
I mean, I think it could go either way for any of them.
I know it's
right now. Like,
it's
not that they're bad. I mean, they're not bad quarterbacks. They're not great quarterbacks. I mean, Carr was pretty good.
Carr was, he had one of the best years of his career.
But I don't know. It can go. I don't know.
It could be something like the Dolphins swoop in and end up with Derek Carr and Tua's a Raider.
Like, and who's to say, Belichick might decide that, hey, you know what? Robert Kraft, I don't want to even work with this guy anymore. You know what I mean?
Like, retire.
I don't know. No, I don't think Belichick is going to retire.
I think they're getting Jimmy G.
Now, why is there no talk about Cousins out of Minnesota yet? Like, how is he not available? And Minnesota's like looking at maybe one of these guys. Like, I can see Carr going there, and I can see Carr going to Minnesota.
Cousins, I hate.
No, I don't think for a trade. I just think Minnesota's on the buying market. They really are. Cousins, I think their contract ends soon. They're like, we're going to be looking to a future.
My ideal move, if I'm speaking as a Raiders fan, obviously taking all the logistics out of it, my ideal thing, trade Derek Carr to Minnesota, get a couple of draft picks, take those 2 draft picks plus your own. Or those at the Texans.
Ooh.
And get Deshaun.
All right. Great conversation now. We're pivoting. Watson or Russell?
I'd want Watson.
Yeah.
Like a decade younger.
Yeah. Who's the one that you really like? I want that guy. They're both great. I mean,
yeah, they're both very good, but Deshaun Watson has had a much shorter career thus far. And has not been beaten and crushed the way that Russell Wilson has.
But he has been beaten and crushed. I mean, his mind sucks.
Not as much.
Because he hasn't played as many seasons, probably, right? I mean, some of those
lot less wear on those tires. And I think he's got a much higher. He's 25? Russ is 32, 33. Like those 8 years in NFL years, that's like 15.
Russ maybe's got 5 great years, and then whatever after that. I think Watson's got 10. You can sign that guy to a contract just like Mahomes right now if you wanted. Wherever he goes, just be like lock his ass up.
And he's so good. Again, led the league in passing yards on a terrible team. He has nobody to throw to.
With Fuller as being your guy, God. I was like, I never understood how did he do that? How, always playing behind, I guess. I don't know. A lot of junk yards. Is it like Stafford type stats?
Yeah. But yeah, he's younger. I think he's got a higher ceiling. Again, Russ has proven himself, but Russ proved himself with one of the most elite defenses of all time. Because remember, when they went to the Super Bowl, they had nobody on offense. Like, remember that kid against the Patriots that had like 120 yards in like the first half? And they're like, oh, yeah, he was working at Foot Locker 6 days ago. And it's like...
They had another Lockett on their team, and it wasn't Tyler. It was another Lockett.
TJ Lockett?
Yeah. I was like, how long has Lockett been on that team? And it's like, no, Tyler's young. He's like, not. I was like, oh, man, I'm totally...
Golden Tate on that team. And Marshawn carried the offense for the most part. Like, that was prime beast mode. So, and then like everyone's like, oh, Russ is going to be the MVP this year. Yeah, he was looking good, and then he wasn't.
Yeah, that's the story of his career right now. Oh, you look great, and then wait, no, and then everyone caught up.
Yeah, Deshaun. If you put him in the same conversation with Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, I think he's got a stronger arm than Mahomes. He just doesn't do as many crazy throws on the run.
Right.
And I think he's maybe not as good a runner as Lamar, but he's a better passer than Lamar.
Oh yeah.
I could see put him on a good team like with the next couple of years, and he'll be an MVP. So I would take if I could do it, I would get Deshaun Watson, but I'm not giving up. I'll give up anybody on the roster aside from Waller, Jacobs, Renfro. That's about it. They're not going to want anybody on my defense.
Yeah, right.
So I'll give up. I'll give up 4 draft picks because I'm not going to need a quarterback, and people are going to come to play with me. I know that's me.
Yeah, no.
How about you as a Cowboys fan? What's your ideal scenario? Do you bring Dak back? Do you trade Dak? Do you what do you do?
Well, I mean, ideally, Dak would come back and he would be in really good shape. But I mean, would you sustain an injury like that? It's so iffy. You don't know what condition he's going to come back in. So even if he's fully healed, even if he's, been working out and ready to go, he may not be the same player. Like sometimes an injury changes you. So, I mean, everything is all up in the air right now for me and my team, because I don't know what quarterback we're going to have. I don't know. We definitely need to work on our defense.
Leighton Vander Esch is pretty good. Sean Lee, after that injury, like he showed promise, but after that injury, I don't know. And I'm not sold on who's that? Mo Claiborne? Is he still there? I don't know.
D-back? Is that the defensive back?
Yeah,
I think so.
I mean, he's been there a while, and he showed flashes of promise. But
now, if you're the Cowboys, are you paying Dak? Like, wasn't he?
Last I knew,
he's still due for a contract, right?
Right.
They franchised him last year. If they franchise him again, it's 38-ish.
So last I knew, Jerry Jones was singing his praises and saying that he is the future of our team. So, I mean, that was a month ago, 2 months ago. So, I mean,
sounds like lip service from that guy.
His tune, or if he, because Dak's still young.
Well,
he's a kid.
I'm gonna bring in what Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless talked about with Jerry Jones and his history. What's his history? He overpays everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And what did I mention earlier? You got
Well,
Lawrence.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys being paid a lot of money,
and he took care of everybody, but did not take care of the quarterback, which, as we have said, is arguably the most important position in all of sports. You don't have a good quarterback, you're not doing jack shit in that league. I don't care how good your offense is. I don't care how good your defense is. You don't have a good quarterback, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, look at the season. That was indicative of that,
look at the last few seasons.
So, I mean,
he's overpaid everybody, but not Dak. Why? What is it about?
Pay the man. That's what I hope. Pay the man. Make him your guy. 8 years. Lock him up.
Jerry Jones is also a piece of shit.
I was going to say he's a hardcore conservative Republican. Maybe he
And a
doesn't like the
racist.
idea of a black quarterback leading America's team.
Jesus.
Does he want it? And he offered Dak 30-ish million, and Dak turned it down. But at the time, that was not a fair price. I mean, it was fair for what the market was going to be, but he was trying to get it in, like you said, Jay, be the first guy. He was trying to get in because he watched Goff and he watched Wentz sign those massive fucking deals, which those are working out real well.
Yeah, and his never came, right? It just never.
And they signed the running back, which terrible idea in this league. Ask Todd Gurley.
Yeah, right.
He gave what's his name? Cooper. Cooper is the highest paid wide receiver in the league, and he's not top 10. Like, I love Amari Cooper. I was sad to see him go from the Raiders, especially because it was like 3 weeks after fucking Khalil Mack got traded. But he is the highest paid receiver, and I wouldn't take him in the top 10 of receivers. You have DeMarcus Lawrence, who plays when he feels like it. I mean, he's very, very good, but he wasn't last year. All these guys are making elite, top of their position money and are not elite or at the top of their position. But you have a guy who can do everything you need him to do, who is in the same mold as a Watson or a Mahomes, where they're mobile guys. They can throw. They can, they can do everything that you need your team to do. But you don't pay him. So you got to ask yourself, why, out of all these guys, out of all these positions, why is he not made? Like, Romo got a good deal.
Yeah.
And Dak's way better than Romo.
Oh, absolutely.
And Romo will be the first guy to tell you that. He doesn't miss games. I mean, other than this catastrophic injury, he doesn't miss games. He's a good citizen on and off the field, which the NFL needs a lot more of. But he's the only one that you don't pay.
Yeah, it's funny how, like you said, Zeke got paid, and he's an asshole, right? Isn't he like not a good guy? Like he's got a record.
He did.
He got suspended. Like we talked about this a while ago. They made an example of him because he had all these allegations thrown at him, even though they also found text messages from the girl saying, "Hey, watch, I'm gonna accuse him of this, and watch what happens to him."
It's one of those that the
he
NFL
was actually innocent, but they punished him anyway.
The NFL was like, hey, so we have all of these naysayers saying that we're not holding people accountable. So we're going to make an example out of Ezekiel Elliott. And none of the allegations weren't true.
And she recanted everything. They found out that everything,
but that's the one instance where that happens, but you have all of these.
Tyreek Hill has a Super Bowl ring. Antonio Brown has a Super Bowl ring.
I was going to say, you have all of these instances where there's evidence, of stuff happening, and
Zeke got 6
nothing
games.
Happens. Nothing happens.
Either 4 or 6.
Yeah, I think it was 6.
And Brown got 8, and Zeke was innocent.
So yeah, don't get me.
Yeah. No, I think I remember from the last show. Yeah,
we went.
The NFL not great. They don't have the top flight citizens of most leagues.
The guys that are so again, like Jerry Jones. Nobody on my team is kneeling. I'll cut his ass. No, you won't. That's the type of guy he is. And it's like, oh, yeah, we love Dak. We love Dak. Yeah. Show it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
that's what I'm saying. Like, Jerry Jones is known to be full of shit. He's known to be contradictory in what he says.
He just made all that money off the electrical grid. He's got it. He's got it to spare.
Don't even. It really is
man.
For a team where the owner is just and I think this kind of goes for most owners. A lot of them are scumbags.
You don't get to be a billionaire by being a good guy,
But,
very rarely.
Jerry Jones, especially in this situation with everything that's been going on down south, is just the ultimate scumbag right now. So it's really difficult cheering for a team owned by that guy.
Yeah. I mean, but again, like we were saying, he got Dak watched all these other guys get their extensions and get their money, and Jerry kind of lowballed them.
I mean, it'll also be interesting to see where Dak is mentally after this injury. After having the entire season, it'll pretty much be a year, having an entire year off, and kind of just watching.
Well, and here's the other thing that I was gonna say. Like, if you want to bring back Dak, you have to put him on the. If you don't give him a good deal, you're going to have to franchise tag him. So he's guaranteed like 37, 38. But if you want to sign him to a long-term deal, Dak's going to probably be, outside of Mahomes, the highest paid player in the NFL, because he's going to be like, okay, well, I wanted 35. You came in at 30. Now you're going to franchise me at 38. You want me to sign a deal. I need 5 years, $200 million, which I think would be fair. What is Russ making? What is Mahomes making? What is Stafford making? What is Aaron Rodgers making? They're all making right around $40 million.
Yeah, and he's worth it. Like Ash said before. I know they started 1-4, but what he was doing as far as quarterback with yards and touchdowns was fucking phenomenal.
Nobody had ever done.
Yeah,
it's not. No, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I lost my train of thought.
It's not always the quarterback's fault that they don't have good support around them.
No, if the defense can't stop anybody,
offensively, he had guys there, but quarterbacks are not part of the defense. You know what I mean?
And they've got good receivers. I mean, Gallup and Cooper are a good tandem.
Yes.
And you had Blake Jarwin, who they lost at the beginning of the year, that first game. Like, he's a solid tight end. He's one of the top 10, 15 tight ends. He's very good. He's not Kelsey or Kittle or one of those guys, but he's very good. If Jerry had been smart, and I'm not going to give him they were worried that Cooper was going to go to Washington and get like some ridiculous deal. It's like, you know what? Let him go to Washington and get some ridiculous deal, and pick up a free agent. Like, you could have grabbed Nelson Aguilar. You think Aguilar wouldn't have played for down there?
Yeah.
For the Raiders? I mean, you got Kenny Golladay, who's a free agent, Allen Robinson, who's a free agent. Like, there's a lot of guys, and you're going to miss out on them because you're going to be paying Amari Cooper $21 million a year for the next few years. Like, Gallup's going to want to raise. You're not going to be able to give it to him.
Because you're going to pay the position that they need. So it's okay. Let Gallup go and make sure, but you got to pay Dak. You got to lock that guy up. Like you said, his age is still great. And I just hope, like you said, his leg is serviceable.
I mean, plus he's so likable.
I mean, if Alex Smith can come back from what he came back from at 35,
likable, and this kid has just had so much shit put on him. He's a guy you just really root for.
Oh, yeah. He's so much fun. Like, he's like, oh, look at me. I like soup and mattresses. Like,
soup and mattresses.
Well, I mean, those are his. Those are his endorsements.
Yeah, Campbell's soup and what's the mattress?
Hey, Dak, what if I like it cold and she likes it hot? Oh, that's okay. You guys can each have your own thing. Like, that's the thing. Like, I'm approachable. Talk to me about your sleeping habits. Is your partner too toasty? You can come talk to me about that. Like, he's a very approachable guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I was saying though is he's been through so much loss, and you really he's such a good kid. You don't hear all of these horrible stories coming from him. You hear the opposite.
Yeah, that's what I say. He's a good citizen on and off the field.
So you find yourself myself, just rooting for him. Like really, I just want the best for him. I want to protect him. I want to put him in a little bubble.
Yeah, he's a nice guy.
Little
I
Dak
like him.
Prescott bubble.
I like
Call
him.
him Bubble Boy.
Well, maybe not a bubble. Find it hard to run. And if you fill it up with
or throw.
Muggy. But yeah, I think that's a pretty good place to kind of wrap things up. Jay, do you have any other final thoughts, predictions, things that you want to talk about in the sports world? I know we didn't touch on Tiger Woods. So that's because Tiger Woods is a scumbag, and whatever.
Again, karma's a bitch. We'll leave that one there. And again, for people who listen that are Celtics fans, hang in there. It's okay. Hang in there, please. Stay on the bandwagon.
Do you have any final thoughts?
Till next week, kids. Try to stay out of the penalty box.
I'm going to say two things. One, to the Bruins, play better against the Islanders.
No. This
they're
is
in your fucking head now.
To Sweeney.
They're 0-3
Stop
against
putting
the
Halak
Islanders.
in the net against the Islanders.
Yeah, Tuca
Just
played on
stop
Sunday.
it.
It's Thursday.
Right? They didn't have any games in between.
Like-
Sunday, Thursday. Tuca would have been fine.
Yeah.
2 U's, 2 K's, too much rest. But yeah, I think that's a good place to stop. Jay, where do you like folks following you on social media, and where can folks find your fine program?
Well, on Instagram, it's at It's Go Time Pod, and you can always email at It's Go Time podcast on gmail.com. Again, our podcast, It's Go Time with Jay and James. You can find it on any platform, and especially on the Dorkening. So,
yeah, and as far as us, well, if you have a hot take, prediction, or disagree with something we said, let us know at TheLoudestSportsShow at gmail.com. Follow us on social media, on Twitter at Loudest_show, on Instagram at TheLoudestSportsShow. And next week we have a fun guest who is doing some great stuff for the world of battling childhood cancer. So I look forward to talking to our guest from the Strong-Willed Sports Group, Mr. Craig Allen. And we're very excited to chat with him. And we're going to talk about all the stuff that he does and why this charity is so near and dear to him. So I think with that being said, you guys have yourselves a great night, and we will see you next time.
See you.
Let's end the